Yeah, you know, like,
Yes.
Oh, don't be scared by the trucks.
You camping for us?
How's it going?
Forest is in the forest.
Howdy. I'm trying to figure out how to turn it off.
I don't know, it looks nice. Looks cool.
Forest bathing.
Thank you.
We just have, so there's Emily. We start?
No, it's another project. It's FEMA.
oh gosh,
That's-
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. This is our first meeting after our two votes, our first meeting in person. Woo. Yippee.
Yay.
Hallelujah.
yeah.
All the above. I see Emily's on the Zoom. I think the announcement before our school board meeting really helped Emily. And thank you for that.
Of course, you're.
We didn't let you down. Yeah. So Bruce is away. I think he's in Greece. Rumor has it. I don't know if did folks get the email from Tricia?
Yes.
Sold her house. She retired, sold her house and is moving. Carolina,
Oh, my God, okay, it's like, where is she going?
right on the ocean, looks like.
Oh, nice.
So we lost Tricia. Bruce will be back, I'm assuming, but it might behoove us to try to maybe replace Tricia if we need another member, but maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit on our agenda as the committee transitions to our new role after the votes. Right, but let us begin with the meeting minutes from May 21st, so that was almost a month ago. I guess we had our two votes. Any thoughts, comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Anything to discuss? And, are approved. 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 And, are approved So on the agenda, we have, okay, so we'll just do a little recap of the votes. There's a little bit of discussion on grant funding update. I'd like to try to spend, and we can meet early tonight, if we so desire, which I'm sure everybody can still jump in a body of water. I'd like to spend some time talking about Peter's letter and next steps, especially with Stone, learning with Amy and Peter on the survey design, permitting steps, timeline, and what you folks, Amy and Peter, see as the role of the committee from here forward. And LCPC. Of course. And so, yeah, we want to talk about how often we meet, if we want to recruit another member to replace Tricia, what the committee's priorities should be, and how our outreach may change. We lost Tricia, who was our front porch forum poster, and we can have a little discussion about that. Linda and I had a call this week to talk about some of this stuff and about the postings as well. And any other agenda items?
I don't think so. Sounds pretty good.
So we had the school board vote, and if I remember my numbers correctly, it was 88-20.
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah. It was a good presentation. There's a lot of good, thoughtful questions. The no's, although they were small in number, were pretty vocal, and folks wanted to have a ballot vote. It took a little bit longer, and that was approved. And then we had the bond vote, which was 124-75, I believe. So it was a little bit closer. We both the yeses and the nos picked up votes in between. So
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. You must be fine.
A little bit. You can help me figure out, I'm not sure.
and
There's her.
I guess we were looking at the article question on the bond vote, and I guess I should have looked at it a little bit more closely being the chair of the committee.
Well,
Folks were saying it's a moot point. We have the funding, we have 30% contingency, but the bond vote article had language in it about giving the town permission to design and construct the system, which, so there was a little bit of confusion around that. I think Linda at the school board vote was saying, we have the money, but we're going to do bond vote because it's already been warned, but that was only part of it. That it said to construct and design and construct and build. I didn't know if we needed that language. And then it was to borrow up to the 1.1 million. So that was kind of a lesson learned for that. In the future, do we need to have that language about giving the town permission to build if we have the funding? If we didn't need to bond vote for it. And there has been some discussion for folks that won't get front porch forum about a petition going around for a revote. And There's one poster that's collected 30 signatures, and I think they need 60 for a petition. And then this has the numbers here, but I believe so then it goes through go through the select board. It would have to be warned, and it would have to be held within 60 days after the select board approval. So we might have to get our supporters out to vote again. If this is the case, if the petition, if they have enough signatures and the registered voters and the select, that goes through the select board. So it's something for us to keep in the back of our minds. We have to stay vigilant.
And the other thing is, as I recall correctly, you're still gonna have the right legal wording to the Secretary of State. Someone did that when they changed the elected officers for the town. They didn't have the right wording, so they had to go back and get signatures again because of that. You're gonna have that wording, and everyone that signs it for the count have to all be on the voter list. If they aren't, they don't count.
And then the interesting part is because the town is supporting the yes side of this, and the no's are petitioning. But I guess the town attorney has to reword the article language. From the no perspective, or it has to be, from one, Linda said it has to be exact same language. But
If it's a petition to reconsider, it's another vote on the exact same language
right,
as was previously. And I'm not sure to address one of the earlier notes that you were making. The bond vote is only about indebtedness. If the town needs additional funding to design or construct a specific project. So the project has to be described in the warning, but the vote is only about authorizing indebtedness. It's not about the actual
I'm
project.
not sure about that. Now we're having a conversation about, so Linda, we're talking about the article. And
Yeah.
about the language. And I don't know if we have that, if somebody has that here, but.
So I was reading it because I heard Emily say it didn't matter. Cause we had the money.
Mhm.
And I wanted to make sure. And I read it and it said, for the construction, blah, blah, design of it and to borrow money. And, so to me, that felt like they were two separate questions. You know, one was given permission to design and construct it, one was to borrow money, and so I reached out to our bond attorney. And he underlined the and said yes,
Okay.
that one word and.
But do we need that first part of that?
You can't touch the warning. You
Right.
cannot,
Right.
it has nothing to do with us. You can't touch.
I mean, in hindsight, did we need that permission to design and build if we had the money?
I'm just following my lead.
Yeah, it's
So
curious to me that, like, I thought we had constructed that language with the help of the attorney for it to be about indebtedness, but I am definitely not an attorney.
Well, he constructed it and then we went through it with JB,
Yeah.
line, word by word.
Mm-hmm.
We just have had two people come in tonight who would have voted positive. It's really. You know who that other man was? There was another lady up there when I was talking to.
Why? Why are they thinking it's tonight?
I don't know.
They got some wrong information on front porch forum, maybe.
I don't know.
Was it wrong on the front porch forum calendar, maybe? Or-
No, I think they just, life is busy.
The part of the reason I'm asking is the let's just say the head of the nose, Front Porch Forum was saying that people are furious because it was not warned properly. People did not know about the date. And which is all not true because the town has to go through a legal process of warning it and posting it. But I'm confused as to why these two people showed up today.
It's really hard to get information anymore because
I know.
there's so much of it. I mean, the committee turned itself inside out, trying to inform people about what was happening. And
Like I asked her, I said, well, don't you read Front Porch Forum? And she said, I do, but it's usually late. You know,
yeah.
she doesn't read it that day.
Mhm.
I said, well, I'll come find you if
Did
we
we-
have
was
a
there-
vote.
Was there a Front Porch Forum post for this meeting and maybe I just got confused of this meeting?
No, it's on the website.
So. Yeah, and I was regarding the posting and I had been pretty vigilant in responding the next day to people that were posting misinformation and. And then I had a little conversation this week and she thought it might be best to just like let it rest and not be so vigilant, even if people are putting out incorrect information. Like that, the votes weren't warned properly. So I'm trying to stay.
At least if we get a petition, then we could. But right now, we don't have a petition. We're ahead of the game. Let's just let's just move forward, I think, instead of feeding into that type of person. Did they come visit you, Alan? This weekend? No.
Why would they visit now?
Well, they visited Lucian. I figured they might have been around North Wolcott, you know, with a petition.
The way that the lead no person left in our Front Porch Forum was, I have a petition, it's on the corner of his road, come and sign it, or I'll come, or I can bring it to your house.
But he is going out.
So right now, we're just gonna wait and see what happens with that, and but we'll be ready when it does. And the timing is, they have 30 days from the vote to get the signatures submitted. Then they're reviewed by Belinda. Then they go to the select board. Linda, that's correct?
Mhm.
And then a date gets selected by the select board. And then it has to be within 60 days of that. So there's that. Any other thoughts on the school board vote or bond vote? And I'm assuming the petition is about the bond vote and not the school board vote.
I do too, but if it's a school vote, it goes to the school board.
Sure, there might be, if there may be some more conditions of the school board anyways, but they have to do. Or is it just the same as the town one, or is it got more steps to it?
No, they're the same. They're the same, but just different bodies,
They submitted to the school.
yeah. But I don't think they could combine them. You?
They're different legislative bodies.
Yeah.
All right, grants, funding update. Emily, did you want to add anything? So do you want to just share a little bit about the 1.4 million grant award, that you notified the town of Wolcott.
Yep, so you guys have a total of 4 million, which is the cap for the fiscal year 24. And, yeah, the agreement will be amended. That probably will happen in the next few weeks. For the select board to review and sign the amendment. Yeah, I mean, it's excellent news.
It is
It's really great.
1.44, was it?
Whatever it is to get you to $4 million.
It's 1.435.
1.44.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yep.
Thanks. Thank you again, Emily. I know you had to do a lot of maneuvering on your end and
No, thank you guys for keep working hard.
But we were ecstatic.
We were all holding our breaths.
Yep. Yep. I think I was kind of hinting at it, but trying not to hint too hard, but yeah. Because I kind of knew, but I didn't have approval to tell you for a while. So. And it's great news for the users. Ultimately, who will be paying the O&M costs? There will be no capital cost, which is great.
And we also changed based on the new 1.4 million, Emily, we went with a 30% contingency.
Yep. So, the 4 million, I put in what the construction cost, what the total cost of the project was with the 30%. So yeah.
And just so we're, I have my head screwed on correctly about the calculation for the contingency. The contingency should only apply to the construction, right?
Yes. Yes.
Just the
Yep.
construction part.
Yep. So I added the 30% for the construction cost, and then you've got the, the remainder of that cost.
Okay.
I think at this point, you guys are in a really good position from a funding standpoint.
And
So Emily, can I ask you a question?
Sure can.
So our contract with the Regional Planning Commission for helping us administer all these grants and so forth, expires November 1st of 24.
Yes.
Huh?
It's April 15th, 2025.
oh,
So, are we able to use any grant monies for them?
Yes. So, you had, I think it was what, the subsidy up to 125, Peter, is that right?
That we were awarded already, yes. Yep.
Yes. So you have that 125, and then anything over that 125, which would be, the Regional Planning Commission, which I believe, and any of that design that was accounted for in the first ESA, that is all coming out of ARPA. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, so moving forward,
Okay.
when that contract ends, we can renew it for
Yes.
some more time and use some
Yep.
of the money. Great.
Yes, you're thinking of
Yes,
escaping.
absolutely.
Did Tori or Linda want to talk about the other 1.4? Updated.
Just so we received notification from Senator Sanders' office that he's nominating us for congressional district spending for 1.4 million. It's a long process that you have to go through, so But anyway, both he and Senator Wells are nominating this project for 1.4 as a total, not as a combination.
So we have the Northern Borders grant still out there. At some point, we're gonna have to say thank you, but no thank you. Or we're not at that point yet.
Yeah. We want to wait and see what happens with Northern Borders, and then how it can be redistributed. Step passage plan brewing, but there might be other elements that could be supported, and it kind of, we have to see how they can all like stack together.
Okay.
Northern Borders in particular might be tricky just because of the 80% federal funding cap. It can like go with
Capital,
like no more than 80% of the project can be funded by federal money. And so,
The northern borders part can only be 80%.
Yeah.
So we might have trouble with match. Can the CRP match it?
well, the CRP can match it, but full Northern Borders award would bring the federal funding over 80%. Right. So.
we did have some extra funding, we discussed, I don't know, maybe Tori. You know, we picked, the select board picked the second design without the treatment. You know, if we have money, this might be a time to consider putting the treatment in. I mean, we just didn't because we didn't have money.
Right, I thought, why don't we just, could we do that? I thought for some reason we couldn't do that. So if we had the extra money, we could do the retreatment.
Well,
I think
we will find out, we will.
Yeah, it's something we can kind of put in the hopper. We were planning on designing for it. The challenge would be that there's a couple wrinkles in the permitting process for that, depending on how much more design flow that allows to be connected in the initial build of the system. If we're over 30,000 gallons a day, it puts us in a different compliance tier in the indirect discharge rules, and we have to use a different method for demonstrating that we're meeting the nitrogen and phosphorus-based permitting criteria in the stream, which is would be a very challenging thing to demonstrate using a site-specific method in the time that we have available. So it might, even though we have the money, it might not be something that you want to bite off unless there's a way for us to phase it so that the indirect discharge program agrees that we don't have to do that site-specific demonstration. We can noodle on that more as things come together.
I guess the other big consideration would be the O&M associated with that treatment system. And like, if we're gonna have right off the bat enough users to sort of support that extra capacity. So that would be just something to think about as we move forward, if that's something the town wants to pursue.
So the O&M cost would be higher, Peter, which would mean our monthly service cost would be higher.
Exactly, yep. It'll make the system much more complicated and much more parts and pieces and things to be looking after. I'm not necessarily suggesting it will be cost prohibitive and that we shouldn't necessarily do it. I'm just saying it's one of the pieces we'll have to consider if we're heading in that direction.
And Tori, do you know the timeline on Northern Borders? So it's coming up, isn't it?
it's June 28th.
What's coming up?
June 28th would be when Northern Borders would notify.
And the senator's money is gonna be longer.
And then on Congress.
Right. Anything else on grant funding update? So. Turn it over to Peter and Amy. I guess maybe. Can we start more broadly and just think about our kind of overall timeline and kind of the benchmarks along the way, especially maybe like the rest of this year. And then maybe we can I want to go over your letter as well, Peter, but yeah. Go over that, Amy, and then after maybe we can discuss how you see the role of the committee as you're doing it.
Sure. I would defer to Peter on the big picture schedule, but I think that the first next things that we want to do in the big picture are get kicked off with the field work, the real field work part of this. So topographic and utility survey, starting to talk with folks about what they might want out of their connection to the system, looking at interior plumbing, wherever we can get permission to be on properties doing that work. Peter is getting quotes from survey contractors to help us with that. And I don't know, Peter, if you want to talk more about what that will look like. I can shut up.
I think the letter that we're gonna talk about is sort of the biggest step. Really trying to get folks to agree to have us on their properties, and even more importantly, meeting with us, which I think is going to be a challenge in this community, so that we can take a look in their basements, try to figure out what their existing plumbing looks like, chat with them a little bit more. We had very, very low response rate to the surveys that had been sent out previously. So we're going to want to chat with them and try to get some of those answers to the questions that were built into that survey kind of figured out. How many bedrooms do you have? Do you have hopes and dreams to do anything else? How old is your system? Some of those sorts of things. And we're clearly already, behind schedule, and we knew that was the way this was going to go down. But we really want to be out there surveying and getting a decent topographic map to work with as soon as possible. So I don't know exactly what that looks like. I'm kind of hoping and shooting for a month or so from now, figuring that it's going to take a little bit of time and coordination to get this survey out and get some responses. One of the surveyors that we're talking to has already indicated that probably works pretty well for their timeframes. So they're kind of refining a cost estimate they already gave us. And from there, there's obviously a lot of design work, but that sort of sets the stage for figuring out a lot of the details that we haven't figured out yet.
Peter, question. So, and this is it mentioned in your letter. What happens if you subcontract out the topo survey and you only get spotty approval to be on people's property? How does that work? I mean, we don't have an ordinance yet to require it, but that's coming. But you probably only want the surveyors here for a limited duration, and what if you only have 20 or 30% landowner permission And as far as you going into houses and the survey part as well.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to take it as it comes. I was kind of wondering the same thing legally, if there are any avenues that the town might be able to take to help sort of grease the wheels. We can certainly get anything within the right of way without a problem, so that's a good start. And I think one of the discussions tonight should be sort of about the committee and or the select board and advancing that ordinance so that it sort of starts to come to focus what it's going to look like and mean. And maybe the ordinance can be part of that tool. I don't actually have a great answer for that. It's been kind of one of my questions and concerns as well. And one of the, quite frankly, one of the things I wanted to bring up with the committee is, you know, how can we go about helping people along?
So Peter, how much of the survey would you be able to get if it was just, assuming worst case, it was just survey of the, within the right of way? How deep into people's yards do you need to go? Is another way to put that question.
That just getting the right of way will be good enough for us to understand where that force main is going to go, which is kind of a big piece of it right now. It will also allow us to as we start to see who's responding to the survey and what the interest is, we will, that may or may not sort of inform our decisions in terms of where it goes. If we're starting to hear rumbles about folks who are going to complete the opt-out work, then maybe we lean towards one side or the other. But we also are going to be looking at things like which side of the stream or bridges is easiest or best to cross. Where are there ledge outcroppings? What do our, we'll be coordinating to do ledge probes where we try to understand where bedrock is. All of that will help us inform where in the right of way the force main is going to go. And then we'll just have to fill in kind of after the fact, like where the connections to that force main and where the tanks are going to go within the yard. So I think ideally we get a lot of responses. It'll be more efficient that way, but it's not going to be the end of the world if we have to. And I'm sort of anticipating that we're going to have to piecemeal it a little bit. But
I might assume worst case scenario with that, Peter, only because if people have wind of this petition, they might be reluctant to see what happens with that first. And they may not know yet that this is going to be required. So the ordinance might take a little while and people are going to want to wait on the petition, but it seems to make sense to go ahead with the topo survey for within the right of way. And I'm assuming that this would include the town forest right of way and the school survey as well, not just the village.
correct. Yep. It'll include all of that.
Yeah, does that make sense? I don't know how do folks feel about that? Well, we could put survey up, Peter, but I'm gonna guess that you're gonna get a very low response on that.
No, there are a number of people who are ready to sign up today. They want to know when they can start paying, some people are excited. I'm a little surprised. I mean, you'll have some pushback, but, there's a number of apartment houses that, I would assume, would have good response from the owners and.
Does the committee have any ideas for sort of outreach to the folks? Because, in other communities, we had a better response rate to the survey. And once we got a response to that, then we had email addresses and phone numbers for folks. So it made it a lot easier for us to be kind of outreaching, like, you know, reaching out and seeing and scheduling and hoping that, you know, folks would pick up the phone. You know, if we get to the point of the survey, we could certainly be knocking on doors as we're going through the village anyway, and kind of asking people for permission as we're doing the work. But I'm curious if anyone has any thoughts on other ways to reach folks. I mean, I know personally I'm just so busy that, you know, I might get a letter in the mail that just doesn't get my attention very quickly, you know, especially mail these days. It just kind of stacks up.
Would something like what you do for boil water, would it be more effective to have somebody put something on everyone's door in the area of the village? Like you do boil water stuff?
That's an interesting thought, Alan, for sure. We could certainly start with the mailing because it's a little less labor intensive, and then round two maybe is going through and actually knocking on doors and thank you, Forrest. Forrest is offering to knock on doors, and if for folks who aren't at home, you know, what do you guys do with those notices? You actually tape them on the door, or you kind of put them in the door handle, or what do you do?
You could get them printed so that they're actual door hangers.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yep.
My suggestion would be if we had, once the letter is ready to be sent, with the permission form, the committee does a front porch forum update. Watch your inboxes if you're in the survey, in the project area where you're about to have mail. We're interested in your participation. Please send it back or shoot the engineers an email. That's your preferred method of getting in touch.
Right.
And then send the mailer.
So Peter, you're thinking that this first mailer would just be for outside surveying? Would that also be looking at people's basements?
Well, if you look at the mailer, we're hoping to get back a form that essentially gives us permission to be on their property. So it's a little of both. It's mostly permission to be on the property to survey. But then it's also, you know, contact info so we can schedule a meeting with them. They're both pretty critical. But if we can just get at least the permission to be out there surveying, particularly in the front yard, that's a pretty good start.
So if you have the surveyors lined up, sounds like August?
Hoping for sooner, but it's possible that it's August. I was kind of hoping for mid to end of July.
And so when ideally would the mailers hit the mailbox?
I'm hoping to send these really soon if we can
Okay.
come to an agreement on this.
So the
I-
US
you know.
Post Office would be the first option with also a parallel warning on or notice on Front Porch Forum. And then the door hanger knock on doors would be kind of right before the survey.
Yeah, we can kind of see what the response is to our letter in the Front Porch Forum, and then that could be our backup plan, I think. Yeah. Especially now that Forrest is offering. I would say, you know, send out the letter, do the Front Porch Forum. In the Front Porch Forum, we can specifically give some contact info that would allow folks to reach directly out to us. And then we can wait, 2 weeks or so and see what kind of response we're getting, and then maybe send Forrest out.
Do you want to go over this letter now, Peter?
Sure. So I'm happy to read it if folks want me to, but essentially, this letter, we decided to write it from the committee, since there hasn't been a lot of communication directly to the users yet. In the past, we've had, like I said, better response for some of the surveys, and this was sort of a second step, and the letter could come directly from us, Stone Environmental. I think Amy and I both agree that this coming from the committee might be better received. If it could be on Wolcott letterhead, I think that might even be better. I don't know if that's possible. Especially if you have a digital letterhead that you're maybe able to put it on in PDF for us.
Or you could put town of Wolcott the address, because it is a designated town committee. And then, yeah, you can do that, but we do not have a letterhead. We type it. We just type something.
Okay.
Okay.
But I mean, the select board is sanctioned this committee, so if it is coming from the town.
It's up to you. I mean, this letter can pretty much go out the way it is. I don't know that it needs to be anything else. It is signed the wastewater committee currently. If everyone likes that, we can move forward with that. If you don't, we could reword it and it could be from us. I'll let everyone read it at your own convenience or right now. And, essentially we're just kind of briefly explaining the project and where we're at, and asking for folks to return the form on page 2, either by scanning and emailing it to us, or mailing it back. We'll actually have self-addressed envelopes to make it easy on folks.
Peter, just regarding the bullets, it just seems to me the interior plumbing evaluation, the engineers also requested permission to collect the following information. I think there really has to be a little thought on how we word that, because anything with interior, we maybe want to say we will arrange a time with you or something like that.
I agree with your comment, and I struggled with that a little bit myself. We tried to capture that in the next paragraph, granting access permission to, well, there is a spot where we kind of talk about arranging the meeting, but I think we could, pretty easily just add parentheses for each of the items where we're actually going to be arranging a meeting. Because I had the same concern, like, you don't want folks to think we're just gonna be like wandering around and hopping in their basement.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe we could say in the second bullet, scheduling interior plumbing evaluations.
Yeah. That was good. Thanks, Bradley. Yep.
I just had a suggestion of a service connection evaluation.
What do you mean, Forrest?
For the interior, like for the interior plumbing inspection. I don't know how vague.
That's a good point, of course, because people are gonna want to know what they might be sensitive about looking at their plumbing because it might be 100 years old or something. But in relation to hooking up, yeah.
Yeah.
Sensitive to 100 years old.
Oh, yes, that is having very recent time flashbacks.
I think it's a good point for us. Because
Yeah.
my brain, I didn't even understand why it was going there, but it was that someone was gonna read that and think like plumbing investigation, like the fire marshal. would
Right,
think.
Yeah.
But you're really
Right.
just like where does the line come out? What are you gonna need? So
So maybe the wording for the second bullet is scheduling service connection evaluation?
yeah.
Yeah. And I saw you did address it in the next paragraph, but in my mind, I was like, okay, they're just gonna tattle on code enforcement, even though you
Yeah.
said it's not gonna be shared. It's just, that's where my mind went. And
Yeah. So Amy, what did you say? Scheduling service connection
Evaluation.
evaluation? Yeah. Okay, I like that. I keep it vague and then when we talk to them, we can explain what we need to see.
And Peter, the last bullet, you're interested in connecting to the system. I'm curious why that's there, because this is gonna be required.
Well, yeah, it's up to the committee. Part of it was that, you know, previous letters that we had were worded differently than that, but it was kind of, you know, it was happening at an earlier phase in the project where we might be more interested, but I left that in there because I thought it would be helpful to understand the folks who really don't want to connect.
But posting it there kind of leaves the impression that it's optional.
Yeah, I have the same, I think it
Yeah.
might be questions about connecting or questions about the system might be better.
I think another way to get at this, at that point, what you're trying to get at, Peter, might be, are you interested, are you gonna be interested in the opt-out
That
option,
was
or something like that?
that was what I was trying to get at without
Yes, yeah.
necessarily wording it that way, but I could go either way. We could just kill the bullet or we could,
Yeah, maybe just kill it.
I think for the sake of getting a response, keeping this as simple as we can.
Yeah. And the bullet above that, your present and future plans for the property, is that just related to system capacity?
Yeah, that's sort of for planning and understanding flows. You know, if somebody says, yeah, I've always wanted to do an in-law apartment, but I haven't been able to, then we would know that we're gonna you know, add an
Store
extra.
that wants to add cafe seats.
Right.
Like that has design flow and package sizing and
Right.
locations.
We could, I mean, it does seem like there's permission to collect the following information, but then there's also just kind of the discussions, so.
Seth is having a question, and I kind of agree with him, about the paragraph below the bullet list. The second sentence, granting access permission does not represent a commitment to connect. But again, going back to Jim, to your comment about, but it's basically required, maybe we just strike that sentence. And leave it, like, we're not giving information to regulators right now. Additional information pertaining to connection commitments will be available later. Soon rather than.
Well, the reason I put that in there, and it was, is, and I'm fine striking it, I don't have a problem with that, but I didn't want folks to not respond to this because they don't want to connect or they're pissed off about it, right? Like, I wanted to make it clear that this isn't them signing up per se, and by not responding to us, they're somehow off the hook. Right?
I think it might be easier to just strike it.
Should we strike the whole paragraph? I personally didn't really.
Just that sentence, I was thinking. Yeah.
I personally didn't think we needed to do this confidential piece either. Like, at this point, I don't know that we're collecting any information that's confidential other than who's got a failed system or not.
There's several failed systems where people might be sensitive here to that, so that might be good to keep.
Yeah.
When are we talking about striking the last bullet. And the second sentence.
So we're just killing that one sentence. We're keeping
The one
additional information.
granting access permission does not represent a commitment to connect to the wastewater system.
Yeah. 'Cause the last bullet, we just felt that this is gonna be required and we don't want to give the impression that it's optional.
Right.
All right, yeah,
And that's, that sentence kind of with that thought process.
the
Yeah,
other
I
thing
think-
is you need to put a deadline because otherwise people, it will sit on their kitchen counter for doomsday.
Yeah, good point, Linda, and that goes along with my comment, thinking about myself and what happens to mail. But if I opened it and I saw a deadline, I might.
In
Right.
bold, maybe in bold somewhere. The deadline.
What does everyone think a reasonable deadline is? I mean, it's a pretty simple form. We're not asking them really anything. Other than signing, like a week, like if it sits around for more than a week.
Yeah, I think a week, because then we can follow up. We need to get going. We can't be waiting for them.
So by the
Okay.
end of June, is it,
Then we
if this goes right out?
send Forrest out and, you know, some people I know, if you're having trouble connecting, then like, owner of Pete's Greens owns 2 apartment buildings, but he's notorious of not ever responding.
Mm-hmm.
But he's in favor of this from what you've heard, right?
I haven't talked to him, but,
You have a letter of support for a grant.
we just need to probably take a drive over to his office, you know. Fill it out.
Yeah, shake it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, Peter, I think it looks good. And any last minute thoughts on the letter? So the letter's gonna go right out, Peter, sounds like in the coming days here and. with these
Yeah, I'll send it,
deadline.
I'll clean this up, do these edits, and we'll just send it like it is, from Stone, probably with just regular envelopes. Well, actually, I guess that's a question for you guys. Do you have Wolcott envelopes we could use to make it look like it's
We
coming from
do
the
have
town, or-
Wolcott envelopes you can use, and so where are you getting the addresses and names off the grand list?
Yeah. Unless you have another suggestion, that's how we would normally do it.
No, that's probably good.
But it's not, I think it would be good with Wolcott,
How many do you
envelopes.
have?
I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me
38,
right now,
did you
but yeah, it was around 40 connections, so I don't know if you're able to send Amy with envelopes tonight, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Belinda's here, we'll send them.
Oh, great.
And do you need, but you don't need the return, they'll go to you.
Yeah, we'll use the stone, right, we'll use the stone ones to us, yep.
Okay,
Okay, so Peter, so these letters are gonna go out, we're gonna give them a week or so turnaround. You were gonna try to get your survey subcontractors lined up for a month or so out.
Yep.
Anything else gonna happen on the stone end in between now and? Because you guys won't be able to do any design until the survey comes in, right?
I guess one of the updates for the committee is that we met with V-Trans regarding the bridge crossing and moving forward, V-Trans moving forward with wrapping up their design and bid documents for the bridge project. We had a conversation with Emily today about the logistics of using the funding to pay a V-Trans contractor and whether or not that will work or not, and she's going to look into that. But I think there's probably some work that can be done in the meantime on that sort of piece of it to kind of start to dial in the details of that crossing, which is going to be very time sensitive because they're looking to put that out to bid probably late this year or early 2025, and they're hoping to construct one of the abutments next construction season, sort of the second half of 2025, and have sort of made a commitment to this project that at a minimum, they'll be able to have our force main, you know, the steel truss in place and a place for our force main to get across the bridge or across the river to meet our timelines for ARPA. So
I should just tell you that, I don't know if it matters, we are in the process of replacing the culvert on School Street in front of the town highway.
oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
It was, destroyed in the flood in July. We have an H&H study, which I can send you, but we have to complete Flatiron Road before we can do that one, but we are going to be upgrading that to a much bigger culvert with wing walls.
Okay.
And depending on which side of the road you go up, the forest is having trails come down from the school, and they're building a bridge at the end of the ball field, from the road into the ball field, depending on which side of the road you go on. But I imagine you'll be on that side because it's ledge on the other side.
Right.
So that, they're just waiting for permits for that.
Linda, if you could get us in touch or forward on any of those plans, that would be really helpful.
Okay, I don't have the plans until the engineer sends them, but yeah.
I'd imagine they probably have a bunch of data similar to what we've gotten from VTrans for the School Street Bridge, that a bunch of data that could be helpful in our design. I'm guessing they probably already did some borings around where that culvert is, so we can look at those and figure out where
Well, I'll
ledge
send
is.
you the H&H study, that's all I have.
Okay, that'd be great, and then maybe a contact for whoever's working on the project.
Peter, do you need anything at the school as far as like test pits or anything this summer?
I'll let Amy chime in there. We were just talking with Emily about that today.
Yeah, and I don't know if Emily was able to get in touch with the VDHP folks, but we would really like to do our excavator feasibility test pits at the athletic field this summer while students are not there. We have been waiting for some time for the Department of Historic Preservation to give us input on whether archaeological clearance is necessary before we do our feasibility test pits. That has been our holdup for some months now. Hopefully we'll get that input soon so that we can go ahead and actually schedule that work.
And does our easement allow us to do that? Or we obviously have to get permission again from the
Yeah.
school?
That would be through what's been agreed to in the memorandum of understanding in terms of the amount of notice that we need to provide and coordinating with the folks at the school well in advance.
And the last day of school was today, correct? Or was that, or was it yesterday? Sure.
I don't know about elementary school, today was high school.
Okay, but it's this week, so it would be,
Yeah,
if anyone from the Division of Historic Preservation is listening, it would be good to get permissions and guidance now.
Yeah.
So that we don't potentially miss the window to do that without disrupting the school schedule, because that's been incredibly important to the school board's support of this.
And they
project.
usually have summer school,
Okay,
not all summer, but you need to, I guess we need to know when that was.
Do they use the athletic fields for summer school?
I don't know, I haven't had kids for so long, I have little kids.
We can look into that.
Any other test pits or probes or other than survey, Peter, that has to happen this summer?
No, I think those are the biggies. The probes is probably the most obtrusive thing we'll be doing.
The field, the
Yeah.
athletic field or the bridge probes?
We will be going along in the right of way, so we don't really need permission, although it would be a lot easier and better if we have some of those permission slips in first, but we'll be going in with kind of a MIDI, they're called geoprobes, which is like a mini drill rig really. And we'll be advancing down to refusal. Well, we will advance to 10 feet or refusal, so we can start to understand where we might have bedrock problems, potentially deeper around culvert crossings and that sort of thing. So I would anticipate that probably not happening till late August or early September, probably kind of in conjunction with some of the surveying. But that's going to be, you know, not particularly impactful, but we'll actually be pulling soil out of the ground along the way, and 50 or 100 foot increments along the route of the force main. Other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot. It's really those two pieces. Back to your original question, we can certainly be focusing on the town forest and the school and a lot of the design components associated with laying out the disposal field, the shed that's going to be dosing to the disposal field, and the equalization tanks and other infrastructure down on the town forest park parcel.
So if the survey happens late July, August timeframe, and you have, let's just say you have all the right of way surveyed and town forest, athletic field, and some homes, more than that. So the design work will start later this summer. Is that soon, Peter, or is that? with the information that you have?
I would guess, there's a fair amount of just once we start getting the survey and just sort of plan set development, I would call it, where you're kind of laying out how the project's going to look on plans, and starting to get all the various details and whatnot pulled together. So yeah, I would imagine some of that's starting to happen late summer. And then probably a lot of the real nitty-gritty design work probably happening into the fall. And then we, have a significant amount of kind of environmental due diligence we'll be doing on the sidelines, as well as, a lot of the hydro-geo sort of support work that Amy's going to be working on to advance all the indirect discharge permit application and all these little pieces that are going to be coming together as we move this thing forward.
So we should wait on the front porch forum posting until after you hear back from the letters and before we start knocking on doors? And then-
Well, are we talking about the first posting to kind of warn people that the letter is coming and that timely response would be helpful?
Is that what we're deciding to do? Is that heads up, this letter is going to be coming in your mailbox, or?
I think that would be great. Because a lot of folks, are more likely to see that and look at it than, I think it's gonna be really helpful that we're using town envelopes, but
I'm a little cautious because we don't want to poke the bear, the nose at a critical juncture when they're going out and getting signatures for the petition.
fair enough.
And I'm wondering if we could somehow not do that posting and just do the
Interesting,
mailing.
yeah.
I would do it as a follow-up for people who don't respond. By that time, I think the time will be up, so,
After the 30 days.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that seems reasonable. We'll get the letters out immediately, but we won't really push folks or do follow up on Front Porch Forum till after the 30 days.
I'm sure some knows in the village will
Yeah.
post because they just received the letter, and
I was gonna say, I'm not sure which is worse, having the news that there's a letter out requesting permission to come talk to folks in the service area, for that to come from the no contingent or from the wastewater committee.
it's probably better for it to.
It's probably better for it to come from the wastewater committee,
I
because
agree.
then they can, then your no contingent can be angry about that, but they're not angry that somebody dropped something in the mailbox without telling them that it was coming.
So we had our vote on the 11th.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I see both sides, Amy.
Sure.
And the fact that we've been quiet on Front Porch Forum, it's been pretty quiet on Front Porch Forum, other than the one person that says that they're putting out a petition. And I think that was good advice for us to lay low until this petition timeline is done. I'm wondering, Peter, I don't want to slow this down at all, but I'm wondering if the letters don't even come out until like we're really close to that 30-day. I'm just thinking out loud.
No, I hear you. I get your strategy. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I certainly wouldn't want the letters to somehow.
Well, I
Make
think
things
the
worse, but
letters will just, divide the community up, and it's kind of calm right now. So it's up to you whether your timeline is imperative,
So
but we
it-
couldn't do it.
Pretty-
The letter could go out, and if we did line up with that 30-day, we could send it out even on the 10th of July. The letter could go out on the 10th of July, that we would lose a couple weeks. But I think we could still get the surveyors lined up. But I'm just. This is.
Well, let me ask
critical.
can I ask a few questions? Do
Sure.
we really, do you think there's a reasonable chance that they're not gonna get the 60 vote or 60 petition or 60 signatures? Because it doesn't seem like that should be that big of a lift if it's already circulating and we think they already have 30. But
Yeah.
you folks certainly have a better handle on what's going on there.
It could go either way.
It depends on whether he wants to work or not.
If we stir the pot, they'll get more signatures,
Sure,
It
okay.
might
He
get-
might, he might not be a worker, just a talker. I don't know.
Yeah. Fair enough. Does the committee have any other ideas where we can start some of this outreach to the folks we know sort of
Positive.
the positives? Is there a way to find out by going through the village and giving us, a
Well, I
list of the
could give
folks
you
that we
some
know are
names.
support?
Yeah, I could.
We could do maybe a more selective mailing right now and the broader mailing on July 10th.
So I do know all the properties that Fred Martin owns, they are gonna sign them all up. So they have the store, the mill, the office up here. And they own a house.
Forrest has his hand up.
Is there any way we could add the letter to the website? And have the people who are already in the corner proactively send them to you directly, electronically?
We could, but we might have. If folks are on the no side or doing their homework, they could be there too, so.
True.
And is there, and I'm not sure if this, Linda might know better, but if it seems to me that the multifamily and commercial properties are generally going to be more complicated. And so might it make sense to start with them? What makes me think that is, we mentioned Fred, and we mentioned Pete's Greens, and MSI. Like, those are a big chunk of the user base, just those 3-4 users. And we know, and they're also can be categorized as your, commercial user base, that starting there in this window rather than the general homeowner might make sense.
And maybe the churches.
And maybe the churches as well,
Nazarene
the
church.
Nazarene church.
Yeah.
I don't know how, that woman lives in California and I emailed her
Mhm.
about, I don't know how to get in touch with her.
Yeah.
But my church, the Methodist
Yeah.
church, I can
Yeah.
let you in.
Yeah, and it's easy to me, it's easy to explain
Yeah, that's.
why you're starting with those
Yeah.
big users.
Maybe look at all the town buildings.
Yeah.
Good plan.
I like this plan.
Okay. So Peter, you would hold off on pulling the trigger until July 10th, it goes in the mailbox. But we'll do the selective, reaching out, proactive.
Yeah, I think,
The
I think
apartments and town
if the
building.
committee could go through, we'll provide a spreadsheet of the folks we were gonna send it
Yeah.
to. And if the committee could go through and either provide contact info for folks would be friendly people to talk to, or properties that would be interested. I think that would be helpful to get some of them going. And then I'll also do a little bit with this kind of change in plan, a little bit of strategic thinking on project workflow and what we can be doing in the meantime. I'll probably talk to the surveyor and start to understand like how they can set control through the right of way. And then, easily set themselves up for going back later. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think that's a good idea. It's just, yeah. We've gone this far. We have those 2 positive votes, and I don't want us to give ourselves a self-inflicted wound as well-intentioned as we are, as proactive as we want to be and moving us forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess just in kind of Jim Ryan contingency planning mode, if there is a revote or the petition comes in before that, I'm assuming at that point, sort of the damage is done. We know we're gonna have to have a revote. We're still gonna advance the design in the meantime. At that point, we send the letters out.
I think June, I think July 10th, we send out the letters no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And if we know, and if the petition comes in and we're having a revote anyway, then at that point we could send it out sooner than July 10th, probably, right?
If it comes in early, you mean, yeah, the petition, yeah.
Okay. All right. And so if they waited till the end to July 10th for the petition to come in, we would have to wait within 30 days, you have to warn it. Linda, is that what you said?
60, but 60,
So I guess I'm curious I guess we don't need to cross this bridge now, but I am kind of curious when we would maybe looking at a revote. Would that be like
well, as soon as possible.
yeah, you just.
I mean, it has to be posted for 30 days.
Yeah.
So it depends on when it comes, then it's gotta get to the select board, select board meeting. They have to set the date, write the warning.
So probably September-ish. So that seems September.
You were thinking you could do it as soon as 30 days, Linda?
Yeah,
That would be.
no, it couldn't be as soon as 30 days. I mean, it has to be posted 30 days. I mean,
Late August would be,
maybe 40 days,
late August would be the
yeah.
earliest.
Okay.
I mean, I think
we can take it as it
still
comes. I was
plan
just trying
go
to,
ahead. I was debating about whether it was worth having our community event, which we hold on September 6th. And that's usually an informational time, whether it was worth having it the following Tuesday after we could reach out to a lot of people. Just something I've been toying with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If there's a petition.
Okay, well, we'll take it as it comes. I was just trying to think out a little bit what this might look like if we're forced to go down that route too. I mean, I don't think it changes our work too much. We're gonna just keep moving things forward, but
Okay. Thank you, Peter.
sure.
I just wanted to jump to the last. We're running out of time. I'd like to, I guess, some input from Tori and Amy and Peter and Seth about how the role that you see for the committee moving forward as we move to this survey, permitting, design, construction phase, which is going to be very different. We've been like trying to get people to vote for this, so we're shifting gears here. In the beginning of this, if I have to look back I can't look at it in 5 years, but when we started this, we were only meeting quarterly, yeah, and then we started meeting monthly, and then twice a month. And so about the meeting frequency and what folks here see our role for us, and some experience here. What you guys tell us what you need us to do from here forward.
I think that monthly meetings are probably plenty. The role of the committee now, I think, is gonna be more to keep a connection going about communicating the progress of the project. Potentially during this initial phase, helping us get the word out and helping us make those, like what we just discussed, making those connections with folks we know are interested, so that we can get off to the right kind of start as we're really getting on the ground with the project. As it progresses, there's going to be more about the environmental review process. If you know any ornithologists or people see bald eagles potentially nesting in the project area, let us know. It's a thing. Bald eagles have their own permit. And you have to stay 600 feet away from them.
So maybe
So-
through the town forest portion is what you're thinking, maybe.
Yeah, if anybody sees any let us know.
Okay.
There's a bunch of little details like that, the committee doesn't necessarily need to know every single in and out, but if there's ways that we can continue to have that thread of good communication with folks in town and folks in the service area, that's gonna be, I think, the most important thing as we get going on design.
And then
All
maybe-
those other little details, like talking about the ordinance, how
Right.
fast do we want to do that? Oh, there's a whole bunch.
I think we're in pretty good shape with the ordinance, that we're about to.
I agree.
The only thing that might be the curveball in the ordinance is if we do get this extra grant funding and given what we were just talking about the pre-treatment, extra permitting and other issues, it says the extra service, that would impact what we've come up with for the service rates and everything else. But maybe, should we just say, we're gonna get together once a month, and then if there's not a whole lot going on, we can cancel it?
That was my feeling, yeah, is to have a placeholder and then, you know, maybe you reach out a week or two ahead of time, Jim, and just see if you know, we have things to talk about, or if it's a month where we can skip it.
And other than what we talked about as far as us laying low a little bit on the front porch forum because of this whole petition thing, once we get past that, you know, we may want to talk about our communication strategy and updates. How we want to handle that on front porch forum. Maybe less, maybe once every 2 weeks or something, instead of every week.
Or even every month, if
Every
there's not, if it's, we're kicking off the survey, this is what's going on with the project.
What are you gonna say?
I could see once 30 days is over for that, you could maybe see if there are any people that wanna connect on beyond the committee.
Mm.
Which would be helpful.
The people that want to connect.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we want any notice on the committee at this point. No. So, yeah, I think that's a good point. And, yeah, so I'm gonna break up the calendar here. Given this 30-day issue that we were just discussing, do we want to maybe meet in the middle of July? I mean,
Yeah, I prefer that we didn't meet on the second Tuesday, because I don't think I can. So in July, we have the 15th, is the third week.
are we talking,
The second, which is the fourth.
are we still talking Tuesdays, Linda?
Well,
Oh,
If we
yeah.
keep-
look at the wrong
if we-
meeting.
keep Tuesdays and we wanted to get to the 11th. Tuesday, the 16th would be the next one, which is the same as this Tuesday.
Yeah,
So maybe we keep doing the third Tuesday. That's better with your schedule, right, Linda?
yeah.
I guess the only downfall on that is when the select board meets the week before, right, Linda? Do you meet, but you meet
Now,
bi-weekly, don't you?
the select board meet on the first and third Wednesdays of the month.
Okay, so you like having
Friday.
you like the idea of having it on the third Tuesday?
It doesn't matter, I do have I'm gonna take on a new commitment on the second Tuesday of the month.
Another one.
Maybe.
Hopefully it's something fun.
Isn't that one the executive committee is for the regional plan?
That is. Okay, the third Tuesday in general is fine, but that third Tuesday in July, I won't be here, and that's fine. That someone else could run the meeting, right? That would be fine.
You won't be here that whole week.
No, I just that night. Got concert tickets. So I think anything else, and so we just kind of discussed our roles and shifting the meetings and can cancel if we need to. And I guess we can talk a little bit more about outreach after the petition round. And we'll have some surveying going on pretty soon here, which is very exciting.
Are we, I guess let's just be clear now, we've decided, I think we decided we're gonna meet Tuesday, the 16th, although you won't be there, Jim. Are we, will be in contact before then, and if the 30 days has passed, we can put the letter out
Yes,
immediately? I think that would be great if we could,
yeah,
in advance of that meeting. Okay, great. Just want to make sure.
And the way that the mail goes, it might take a few days to hit the mailbox.
Right.
Yeah. You might even be able to back it up to the 9th or something, or.
Right. Yeah, good point.
The
Yeah.
8th is a Monday.
Yeah.
Maybe put it in the mailbox on the 8th.
Yeah.
I don't think,
makes sense.
I think at that point, the petition it'll be too late to impact the petition. So
Right.
we could go back all the way to the 8th.
Okay, that sounds good.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
And just for Peter, Amy, are there any other, might there be some decision type input needed in between meetings, or if we meet once a month, that should be able to cover it?
I was just gonna ask that. I mean, I think if we could be flexible and just do things occasionally by email as we need,
Yeah.
quicker responses, I think that would be fine.
We, I think will appreciate input from the committee about the willing commercial and multifamily property owners. Assuming the town buildings are going to allow permission. I'm not sure if the select board needs to specifically do that. If that is assumed since it's the town project.
Just give a heads up to the fire department and the town garage and Valley Wolcott and principals. I think we are good. Are we adjourned?
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for volunteering for door knocking for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. Stay cool.
Please.
The plumbing emergency. The plumbing emergency was actually stupid.
Oh, no. What was it?
They, fridge brought in, and the old fridge had like, it's